had always been the quiet one, the one who stayed in the background, content with the simple things in life. But something shifted in me a few months ago. I was tired of people doubting me, tired of being underestimated. People always said things like, "You're not cut out for that," or "That seems a bit too ambitious, don't you think?" At first, I let it slide. I told myself they didn't know me, didn't know what I was capable of. But over time, those comments chipped away at me. They started to make me question myself. But no more. I was done with that. Done with letting others define what I could or couldn't do. I wasn't going to sit by quietly anymore and let people tell me what I was capable of. It wasn't about proving anything to them. It was about proving it to myself. I knew what I could achieve. I just had to believe it enough to go after it. For years, I had put my dream on hold. It was something I had always wanted to pursue, becoming a graphic designer. But I'd been afraid that it was too late to start, afraid that I would fail, and afraid of the judgment that would follow if I did. I pushed it aside, telling myself it wasn't meant for me, that I was too old to switch careers, too late to learn something new. But that day, I decided that fear wasn't going to hold me back anymore. So I did it. I signed up for a graphic design course. It felt like a huge step, but as I clicked submit on the registration page, I felt a spark of excitement. I was finally doing something for myself, for my future. I wasn't going to let anyone's doubts stop me, least of all my own. I was going to make this happen. The first week of the course was overwhelming. It was full of new software, design principles, and techniques that felt so foreign to me. I felt like an imposter at times, watching my peers breeze through things I struggled to understand. There were moments when I wanted to quit, when I thought maybe I wasn't cut out for this after all. But I refused to let those thoughts win. I pushed through, every night working late, practicing my designs and learning from my mistakes. Then came my first project, designing a logo for a small local business. I felt nervous, really nervous, but I took the challenge. I put everything I had into it. I wanted to show everyone, including myself, that I could do this. The process was difficult, the edits endless, but I kept going, determined to create something that felt right. When I finally finished, I sent it off to the client with my heart pounding. I couldn't wait to see what they thought. But the next morning, when I opened my email, I saw the response. "Thank you for your work. We appreciate your effort, but we've decided to go in a different direction." My stomach dropped. Rejection. It was a punch to the gut, but I refused to let it defeat me. I wasn't going to let one rejection stop me. It wasn't about the logo. It was about me, my passion, my effort, my refusal to give up. For a moment, I was angry. Angry at myself for believing that I could actually do this, angry at the client for not appreciating my hard work. But then, that anger turned into something else, determination. I wasn't going to let this be the end of my story. I was going to learn from it. I was going to improve. I was going to show the world, and more importantly, show myself, that I was capable of more than just taking no for an answer. So I got back to work. I revised my portfolio, took more courses, practiced, and failed again. But every time I got better. I refused to let fear hold me back any longer. I didn't need anyone's approval. I didn't need anyone to tell me I was good enough. I knew I was. I was doing this for me and no one else. Every rejection, every mistake only made me stronger. I wasn't the person I was a few months ago, the one who doubted herself, who let others decide her worth. I was stronger now. I was more confident. I was doing what I had always dreamed of, and nothing could stop me. I wasn't done yet. This was only the beginning. The days following the rejection were tough, but something inside me had shifted. That first no wasn't the end, it was just the beginning of my journey. I'd learned a hard lesson, but the most important one of all, failure wasn't something to fear. It was something to learn from, and so I got back to work. I spent hours on my designs, diving deeper into what I loved about graphic design. The more I practiced, the more I realized how much I enjoyed the challenge of it. There were days when I doubted myself, when I thought maybe I wasn't cut out for this after all. But every time I felt that doubt creep in, I would push it aside and remind myself, I made the decision to do this for me, and I won't quit. It wasn't just about the logo I had failed at, it was about building something bigger, something I could be proud of. I had chosen this path, and I wasn't going to let fear hold me back anymore. So I kept working, designing, learning. I sought out new projects, even ones that scared me. I asked for feedback from people who had more experience than me, and instead of getting defensive, I took their advice and used it to fuel my growth. I could feel the changes in me. It was like I was slowly becoming someone new. The girl who had once doubted herself, who had believed that dreams were only for other people, was starting to disappear. In her place was someone stronger, someone who knew how to face adversity head-on and keep going. I started taking on small freelance projects, ones I had once thought I wasn't ready for. The first few were nerve-wracking. I would spend hours second-guessing every line, every color choice, every font. But the more I did, the more confident I became. I learned to trust my instincts, to stop worrying about the judgment of others and just create what felt right. Then one day, I got an email that changed everything. It was from a larger client I had reached out to a few weeks earlier. They wanted to see more of my work and they were interested in hearing me for a branding project. This wasn't just any client, it was a step up, a chance to prove myself on a bigger stage. I could hardly believe it. The excitement rushed through me, but so did the fear. Could I really do this? Could I deliver? Of course, I could. I'd come this far, hadn't I? I had pushed past every doubt, every failure, every fear. I'd kept going when it would have been so easy to quit. And now, the opportunity I'd been waiting for was right in front of me. The project was intense. I spent weeks poring over every detail, refining my designs, getting feedback, making adjustments. I pushed myself harder than I ever had before, working late into the night, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I was doing something I loved, something that felt right. This was my dream coming to life, and I was determined to make it perfect. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I finished the project. I sent it off to the client, holding my breath as I hit send. I couldn't shake the anxiety, but I knew one thing for sure. I had given it my all. I had worked harder for this than anything else in my life, and no matter the outcome, I knew I had done everything I could. The next morning, I woke up to an email notification. My heart skipped a beat as I opened it. "We absolutely love it. You've done an amazing job, and we're thrilled to move forward with your designs for our rebranding." I felt a rush of exhilaration wash over me. I had done it. I had taken a huge leap, faced my doubts, and succeeded. This wasn't just a win for the client, it was a win for me. It was the validation I had been craving, but more importantly, it was the moment I realized that I was capable of so much more than I had ever thought possible. That email marked a turning point. It wasn't just about proving others wrong anymore. It was about proving something to myself. I had the strength, the talent, and the determination to make my dreams come true. And no one, not even myself, could stop me. As the weeks went by, I continued to gain more clients, taking on bigger and more challenging projects. My confidence grew with every success, but so did my sense of humility. I knew how far I'd come, and I knew the road ahead would still have challenges. But now, I wasn't afraid of them. I was ready for whatever came next. And as I looked back on all those times when people doubted me, I realized something. I didn't need to prove them wrong. I had proven it to myself, and that was all I ever needed. The success of that first big project didn't just mark a victory in my career. It marked the beginning of something new. I had learned to trust my instincts and face challenges head-on, but the real test was in maintaining that success. Could I keep this momentum going? Could I continue to push myself and grow, or would the pressure eventually catch up with me? The first few weeks after the branding project went smoothly. I received more offers and new clients reached out for projects. There were moments when I doubted myself, wondering if I was truly ready for the increased workload. But then I would remind myself of where I started, how I had once felt so unsure, so small in a world of established professionals. And now, here I was, building my reputation one project at a time. But even with all the success, there was still something that gnawed at me. It wasn't the work or the pressure. It was the people who had doubted me. The ones who had told me I was too late, too inexperienced, and that my dream was impossible. I had proven them wrong in the most gratifying way. But now, I wanted to show them just how far I could go, not out of spite, but out of pride in my own achievements. One evening, as I sat at my desk finishing up a new project, an email from an old acquaintance popped up in my inbox. It was from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Lee, a former colleague from my old job. We had worked together at a company where I was constantly overshadowed. I had never told her about my dreams of becoming a designer. I had kept that part of myself hidden, convinced that no one would take it seriously. Her email was short, but it made my heart skip a beat. "Hey, Mia, I've been following your journey, and I just wanted to say how impressed I am with everything you've accomplished. I remember when you first mentioned wanting to become a graphic designer, and I never thought you'd actually go for it. But look at you now. You've made it." I read her message again, unsure of how to respond. There was a part of me that wanted to shout, "I told you so," to show her how wrong she was about me, but I stopped myself. Lee hadn't been the one who held me back. She had simply been one of the many who didn't see the potential I saw in myself. I had been the one to hide my dreams, the one who hadn't believed in myself. Instead of responding with arrogance, I smiled and typed back a simple reply. "Thank you, Lee. It's been a long journey, but I'm proud of what I've accomplished. It's nice to hear that people are noticing." That exchange didn't just validate my journey, it solidified it. Lee, like everyone else who had doubted me, was a reminder of what I had overcome. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong anymore. It was about proving to myself that I was capable of achieving what I set out to do. But the real turning point came when my biggest client yet reached out to me. They had been following my work and were interested in having me redesign their entire website, as well as create a branding package for a new product launch. This wasn't just any client. It was a major player in the tech industry, and they wanted me to be their lead designer. It was everything I had ever dreamed of, and more. As I sat down to review the contract, my hands trembled with excitement. I was being recognized for my skills, for my hard work. This was the validation I had been working toward for years. It was proof that all those late nights, all those moments of doubt and frustration had been worth it. This was my moment. I called my family first, something I hadn't done much before. I told them about the project, and their excitement and pride were palpable. It was the first time I had shared this level of success with them, and it felt incredible to have their support. I was no longer the girl who had kept her dreams hidden. I was the woman who was living them. Then I called my closest friend, Olivia. She had always believed in me, always encouraged me to pursue what I loved, even when I had second-guessed myself. She was there when I first started, when I doubted whether I could do it. And now I was calling her to tell her that everything had changed. "I can't believe this is happening," I told her, my voice shaky with excitement. "This is the big one. It's everything I've worked for." Olivia's voice was filled with pride. "I always knew you had it in you. Look at you now. You're about to take over the world of design." Her words stuck with me. I wasn't just taking over design, I was taking control of my life. I had made it. All the people who had doubted me, the ones who had underestimated my abilities, they were part of my story, but not the whole story. I was the one who had written the ending. As I prepared to begin the new project, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I had come. From the girl who was too afraid to pursue her dream to the woman who was now leading high-profile projects. It wasn't just about success. It was about the journey, the challenges, and how they had shaped me. And the best part? This was only the beginning. There would be more challenges ahead, more obstacles to overcome. But now I knew how to face them. I wasn't afraid of rejection anymore. I wasn't afraid of failure. I was ready for whatever came next. Because no matter what anyone said, I knew I could do it. The weeks that followed felt like a whirlwind of excitement and accomplishment. The big project with the tech company was underway, and with every email, every meeting, and every design draft, I felt more in control of my future than ever before. The hours were long, and there were challenges, of course. There were moments when I wondered if I had taken on too much, but then I would remind myself how far I had come, how many doubts I had pushed aside, how many times I had convinced myself that this was impossible, only to keep moving forward anyway. It wasn't just the project itself that gave me a sense of pride. It was the way I had learned to trust myself and my abilities. I had become someone who wasn't afraid to step up, take charge, and make decisions. I wasn't the timid, unsure person I had been a year ago. I was a professional, confident, and capable, working on some of the most important projects of my career. And the feedback? It was beyond anything I had ever expected. The tech company was thrilled with my designs. They were impressed with the branding, the website layouts, and the way I had understood their vision and translated it into something real. Each compliment was a reminder that I had made the right choice by not giving up, by not listening to the people who said I couldn't do it. But there was one moment that truly hit me, one moment when I realized just how far I had come. I was sitting in a meeting with the CEO of the company, going over the final stages of the project. I had already presented my concepts, and he was giving me feedback on the website's user experience. As I listened to his thoughts and suggestions, I noticed something that made my heart race. He wasn't just impressed with the work I had done. He was treating me like an equal. This wasn't a client who saw me as the young, inexperienced designer. This was someone who recognized my expertise, who valued my input, and who respected my vision. At that moment, something shifted in me. It wasn't about the praise or the validation. It was about the realization that I was no longer the girl who was afraid to speak up or to take risks. I had become the person I had always wanted to be, the confident, capable designer who could stand her ground and trust her instincts. The next week, I received a call that would change everything. The CEO of the tech company called me personally to let me know that they wanted to extend the project into a long-term partnership. They were so impressed with my work that they wanted me to handle all their future design and branding projects. I was being offered a permanent role as their lead designer. For a moment, I couldn't believe it. This was it. The dream I had been working toward for years was finally coming true. And it wasn't just because of luck. It wasn't because someone had handed me an opportunity. It was because I had worked for it. I had pushed through every obstacle, every rejection, every self-doubt, and now I was reaping the rewards. As I sat there, processing the offer, I realized something profound. This wasn't just about the career I had built. It was about the person I had become in the process. I had grown so much, not just as a designer, but as a person. I had learned how to believe in myself, how to stand up for what I deserved, and how to turn every setback into a stepping stone toward something greater. When I called my family to tell them about the offer, their excitement was contagious. They had always believed in me, even when I hadn't believed in myself. And now, I was living proof that dreams, no matter how big, could come true if you were willing to fight for them. I didn't need anyone to validate me anymore. I had done the work. I had taken the risks, and I had built something that was entirely my own. The doubts, the fears, the naysayers, they no longer mattered. What mattered was that I had done it. I had proven to myself that I was capable of so much more than I had ever imagined. And as I sat there, reflecting on everything that had led me to this moment, I couldn't help but smile. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every challenge, every setback, and every moment of uncertainty. Because now, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't just the girl who was told she couldn't do it. I was the woman who proved everyone wrong, and I was just getting started.